Game theory, Let's Plays are dead. But why? By, of course, the Game Theorists. So, as somebody who is very late to the ballgame, very late to Let's Plays, having the gaming channel myself, I actually just finished the entirety of our 17-hour Dead Space stream and actually getting both the original and the remake all set and uploaded and tagged. I've kind of noticed that it's just not a popular format anymore, and I have a couple reasons why I think that is. And I think, yeah, one of the reasons is, yes, the Mr. Beastification of YouTube, but I'm very curious to see what their reasoning is and if there's a fix or if there's, some kind of trick to it. So yeah, let's dive into this. I'm very curious to
Is the Let's Play dead? A format that once defined YouTube in the mid-2010s now feels like it's become a smaller and smaller piece of this digital empire. How did this happen? Why did this happen? And more importantly, is there anything that can be done to save it?
I don't think so.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, the show that is back on the green screen, and you know what that means. It's time for another fun meta discussion about the gaming world.
I don't think I've watched Game Theorists since MatPat left. I think the last one I watched was the Five Nights comp. I don't even remember half of it. The Five Nights comp where MatPat came out of retirement, people were like, haha, Lamau. Oh, he comes back. He can never escape Five Nights, right? So I actually haven't seen this new host yet. This is gonna be interesting.
You've all seen the title, you've all seen the thumbnail, and the cold open, I hope. Don't tell me you skipped it. Ugh.
I never did.
Go back and watch it. I hid a secret in there for you and everything. And
I missed
for those of you who did watch it and found that secret, thanks, good job. But while we wait for the others, why don't you hit that subscribe button? They should all be done in around 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back. Now, where was I? Oh yeah, this video's main topic is the Let's Play dead? It may seem like a strange question to ask. In its simplest form, a Let's Play is someone recording themselves playing a game and also recording either their voice or their face so that the audience can get their reactions.
Or obviously model on stream. It's very much kind of like how, because it's like walkthroughs, it's kind of in the similar vein, but a walkthrough kind of implies, hi, today we will be, playing Resident Evil 4. Sorry, my mic has a fuzzy on it. Today we'll be playing Resident Evil 4, and, I will be showing you how to get all of the, the spinels, extra treasures and stuff, right? Or we're playing Majora's Mask, full 24 Fierce Deity Mask run, right? Like something like that, right? Where Let's Play is kind of just like, in game testing, we used ad hoc, right? And that's what I used to do when I had my brief stint in games testing. Just like, cool, ad hoc, go at it. Well, I don't know. I don't even think that's necessarily a fair comparison because ad hoc is something a little different. But very much a Let's Play is kind of what it says. It's pretty simple, right? It's we are playing the thing. Let us play the thing. And I think honestly part of it is the parasocial interaction and or part of the draw of the public figure, because you have individuals like Josh Strife Hayes who his Morrowind VODs got 60,000 views last I checked, and I checked a hot minute ago, right? Or even by Russian Badger, Rubik's Raptor, they have their separate VODs channel, right? And generally they're less popular because it's kind of more long form content. It kind of depends. Like when I do my modern gaming content, I usually try to keep it. Yeah, we have our TF2 days that are pretty long, right? But I try to keep it very episodic, somewhere between 30 minutes to about an hour, somewhere in there. If I go a little over an hour, it's fine. And there's things that I've noticed personally about it, but I think that it's part of it. I think is just saturation. It's very saturated, and I think that you have to have, much like if you're doing work on the Purple app, how a popular opinion is to get started on YouTube and then start transitioning to the streaming space, right? Very much like building up your rapport as a brand, as a personality, and then do it, right? Like people would love to watch Fuwamoku plays Ocarina of Time. Who necessarily wants to watch Kip Reacts play Ocarina of Time? Right? And that's not a derogatory thing. That's just kind of a the draw of the personality has meaning. Moist Critical can show up and play the entirety of the Resident Evil backlog, and you can see moderate success, right? And sometimes you'll have people who make it their main game or speedrun, and it's if they're a popular speedrunner, that might be its own gravitational pull, if you're really good at it, right? I don't know. There's a lot that goes into this, and I'm trying to keep my tangents a little condensed.
As well as capturing silly moments. Videos like this were everywhere in the 2010s. They launched tens of thousands of careers and were the gold standard of YouTube. So why am I asking if the genre is dead? Well, the truth is, I'm not the only one. I've seen this question pop up a few times over the last couple of years on Reddit, YouTube, and on Twitter. But in the last few months, it seems like it's become a bigger and bigger topic of discussion. And I'll admit, something does seem different now. It's not necessarily that there are fewer Let's Players. Arguably, there are more people doing variations on this sort of content than ever. But the traditional Let's Play clearly isn't having the impact it used to. Just looking at the top 100 YouTube channels in 2015, nearly 25 of them are Let's Players. But now, a decade later, it's only 4. And mainstay channels like 8-Bit Ryan, Bijou Mike, and Dorko are regularly making videos about having to change their approach to Let's Plays because what they have been doing isn't working anymore.
So this is interesting, and I was going to weave this in a little later. Recently, Josh Strife Hayes, Moist Critical, a bunch of them broke down how it seems that mobile is getting counted for views more than desktop is, and people are saying that that's YouTube's approach to, dealing with ad blockers, right? This tells me that YouTube is going towards a more like mobile, even auditory format. So I wonder if ASMR channels have been hit in the same way that some actively engaging content is. It's hard to say, right? It's speculative at best, but it's something that if they're truly invalidating desktop views in favor of mobile views, could that be one of the big reasons?
So, today, I wanted to take a look back at the history of the genre, how it came to be, how it evolved over time, and ultimately, where it's going in order to truly answer the question, are Let's Plays dead? The foundation of the Let's Play actually begins well before Let's Plays are even a thing. Gaming, nearly at its very conception, was designed to be played with people. You could go to the arcade and either watch someone beat the high score or play with someone else. You could go round to your friend's house and play couch co-op or go for a LAN party.
Goals.
Even one of the earliest games, Pong, was a 2-player game. Gaming was designed as an inherently social activity. Some of my fondest memories are playing games like Crash Bash with my brother on Saturday mornings before my mum and dad woke up. But what would you do if you didn't have people physically around you and you wanted to share your experiences with other people who also enjoyed that particular game? You
kind of just suffer. Bro, I played Pokemon, GBA, DS, the Gen 3, 4 era. I played those for years and knew nobody who also played them. You kind of just deal. But obviously he's leading into the point where, you kind of have that parasocial interaction with people. You kind of share your interactions.
You took to this brand new thing called the internet and the exciting new world of online forums, specifically a website known as Something Awful. While the exact origin of the Let's Play is a little ambiguous, it's widely understood to have started here. This place was all the rage in the early 2000s, being the place memes like All Your Base Belong to Us, How Is Babby Formed, and Chuck Norris facts gained their massive popularity. In 2004, a user called Slow Beef took to the site and began uploading screenshots of his playthrough of Metal Gear Solid 2, leaving comments about the screenshots that vary from informative, like we'd expect from any normal walkthrough, and snarky, like we'd expect from a normal Let's Player. This style of thread began to pick up traction, especially when people could start commenting and guiding the actions taken by the player. Most of the time, meaning things went completely awry. But circling back to that sense of community and playing with people, not just on your own. This led to the term Let's Plays being coined in 2005, as in, let us play. And that year might sound familiar to you guys. It's the same year a little website called YouTube became a thing. Not that the Let's Play would really transfer there for a number of years. I mean, the Let's Play was a static medium and YouTube was a video site. There's no way these two things could work together.
Never.
Until they did. On January 4th, 2007, Slow Beef began doing a Let's Play of The Immortal for the Sega Genesis, otherwise known as the Mega Drive for my fellow Europeans. Sound off in the comments. It started out like every other Let's Play Slow Beef had done up until that point. Then he threw the internet a curveball.
Test. Okay. This is Slow Beef. I usually like to add something a little crazy to my Let's Play threads.
That, my friends, is a video clip with commentary. Slowbeef said he'd like to add some little extra thing to his Let's Plays, but this isn't just a little something. This was a genre-defining moment. This led to people like fellow Something Awful user Proton John to start doing player commentary Let's Play videos later that year. The same year that YouTube introduced something you may have heard of, the YouTube Partner Program, where if you reached a certain threshold, you could have ads play on your videos and you'd earn a cut. Suddenly, you weren't just uploading videos for your friends or communities online. This could be an actual job. And as the years went on, more and more people began to jump on this style of content. Like,
I'm going to be honest, seeing the old UI made me kind of depressed. Dude, I miss it.
Nintendo Capri Sun, Chugga Conroy, Raocow, Paul Soares Jr., Ethos Lab, and of course, PewDiePie.
What the fuck is that? I think he wants to hug.
All of them and many more saw some amount of success. Subs were going up and money was coming in. But YouTube wasn't done adding changes to the site, and they did something that turned this relatively new but growing format into an overnight sensation. In October 2012, YouTube announced that they were changing how their algorithm worked. Before this point, the algorithm would recommend videos based on the number of views it had. If it had a lot of views, clearly a lot of people liked it, and so YouTube would spread it around more, which led to people gaming the system with clickbait thumbnails, titles, and opening seconds. Because
I mean, but that's the thing though, is you have processes to report that, right? You have processes to deal with this. Is this once again a situation where like a lack of accountability and lack of oversight just kind of leads to the entire ecosystem suffering? I feel like that might be a good argument, right? And don't get me wrong, I feel this is one of those things that like success compounds success, right? Like 100%. And I don't know, I'm very old school. I'm very traditional in a lot of ways, right? Like even if we look at my React channel thumbnail choices, right? You clicked on like this video, right? It is very much my face. Cue reaction to literal thumbnail or thumbnails used, right? If we go to the gaming channel, it's like with Hollow Knight, it's hard for me to figure out what I'm actually doing in Hollow Knight because I've never played it. So yeah, I just use a static, or like Team Fortress, you know, I change it up for man versus machine, or I try to get something that kind of encapsulates Haunted by the Past, Silent Hill 2 remake. Oh, we're probably going to see Pyramid Head. Game was rigged from the start, Fallout New Vegas. Oh wow, you know, I wonder if we're going to see the funny bit, right? Like, or like, you know, insert whatever here, right? Like I'm very traditional and I try to be very minimalistic, right? Which has its own problems, and you want your, especially in modernity, because there's so many people competing for everyone's attention. You, dear viewer, dear commentator, are a single person. You can only watch so many videos. You have a life. You have to sleep. You have to eat. You have to work, right? I get full use out of my YouTube Premium. I think I get like 800 to 1,000 hours of watch time a month. And it, you know, I can do it for work as well. But like, what do you do if you have 50 people all vying for your attention? It's the same exact problem we have with what happens if you have 7 live services all wanting for your attention. Well, Halo Infinite, you should be doing this, and Destiny 2, you should be doing this, and Warframe, you should be doing this, and Final Fantasy 14, you should be doing this, and World of Warcraft, you should be doing this, and Pokemon Legends Z to A, you know, you should be grinding on, you know, on ladder to make sure you get your Megastone that you can miss, right? And it's like, okay. I can only do so many like live services, if not games, at a single time, right? You have to pick and choose. And unfortunately, things start to fall through the cracks. That's why people, you know, well, cool, maybe I'll sub to WoW next expansion. Or, you know what, Warframe doing pretty good right now. Got all the mods I'm looking for. I'll take a break till next update or next frame drop, right? And, you know, pretty reasonable stuff, right? Taking a break, you know, disconnecting isn't necessarily a negative. So you run into the same exact conclusions there of, well, if you like Markiplier and you like PewDiePie and you like Moist Critical and you like Some Ordinary Gamers and you like Fat Electrician or whatever, you know, insert your list of people you subscribe to here, right? At some point, you have to pick and choose, and that's not a bad thing, right? It's why I have the dogmatic view that if I have a video that does bad, like, it's my fault. Fivehead should have made a better video, should have paused less. And I think that gets into a little self-depreciating behavior. Don't get me wrong on that. That's definitely flawed, especially when you're fighting uphill in an algorithm, especially when you're fighting AI slop at this point too, right? But like, saturation is definitely an issue, but it's not the only issue, because there's people who can still tomorrow start and reach critical acclaim. That shouldn't be a reason to not, if that makes sense.
It didn't matter if the viewer stayed for the rest of the video, the view had already been counted, and so they'd be put in front of more people and gain more clicks and online fame.
That'd be great.
That wasn't what YouTube wanted. For the part of the program to work, they needed to show ads to people, and if people were clicking off after a couple of seconds, they didn't get to see that many ads. No, they needed to stay for long stretches to be shown as many ads as possible, and so they changed the algorithm to favor not views, but watch time. You were rewarded the longer someone watched your video, which meant if your videos were naturally longer and had random spikes of horror or surprise that would lead to over-the-top reactions throughout the video, chances are more people would watch.
And I mean, people made fun of this for years, right? Over dramatic YouTube reaction, clickbait lamau. I mean, like, man, like people have made fun of this for years, and you can't argue that it works. It has a degree of success, right? And honestly, look, if you make funny pog face reactions and you're doing the best you can with content, why should I care, bro? Right? Like, I don't know. I just it's whatever. If it works for you, if you're having fun, if you're not, effing people over, why should I care? Right? Go get that bag, because someone's creator, someone is always someone's favorite creator or in their list of favorite creators. Like, and that's fine. Like, if you like Some Ordinary Gamers after his whole Switch 2, whatever, bro, like Some Ordinary Gamers, who cares, right? Like, a lot of people, I'm very harsh on myself in comparison because I just have incredibly high standards for myself, and it comes out in my work a lot, which ends up being, making kind of its own negative feedback loop. And so I'm kind of taking steps a little bit to distance myself a little bit, to avoid burnout and to just avoid a couple things, right? But like, I don't know. There's a number of things that all feed into each other, and the system works, and you have to adjust to the system, because if you don't adjust to the system, there's only so much you can do, and you will be fighting from behind, right? And it's like don't get me wrong, people know me for reactions, right? They don't necessarily know me for, I don't know, playing through the entirety of Lord of the Rings Online, or my 100 some odd, episodes of Final Fantasy 14, right? Or me playing Metal Gear Solid Delta for the first time, right? And that's not necessarily their fault. That's not really the algorithm's fault. One, I don't really market it. Two, I'm just, this is very old fashioned. Hey, I'll throw this up. Someone, maybe they'll watch it, maybe they won't. I mentioned that I do it. But at this point, it's like one of those things where bro, I make like $5 a month from it. It's negligible, right? It's whatever. In fact, actually going daily has actually seen it plummet a little bit, which has been very interesting to watch. And it's like, I do stuff like that for fun. I think if you go in with the mentality of, I'm going to do this because it's fun and I'm not going to stress myself out, you're not going to spend 17 hours streaming Dead Space back to back with Dead Space Remake and be like, man, I wish I could go too, but I'm already at 17 hours, right? Like, I think you can have a lot of fun with it. And then, if you see success, then you capitalize on it. I don't know. I'm also weird as well, because like I love watching Shenpai videos. I know me, myself, I don't want to chop up a stream into reactionary clip, right? I can't do it. It's just not my style. I'm very, very dry. I'm very long in terms of format. I very much like to sit and dissect and analyze things. And the hopeful part of me is like, maybe at some point people will want to sit down and kind of, be able to talk through things, be able to analyze things, be able to ask questions. But I mean, we also live in the era where, having your hook matters and making sure you have an eye-catching thumbnail and A/B testing and title and stuff like that, right? I just don't think that that's what YouTube's geared towards anymore, and that's fine. It's unfortunately just adapting to the sphere. That's what it is. So I don't know. I think that on top of that as well, this is one that, like, listening to feedback on the subject, a video doing bad shouldn't necessarily be a reflection of your worth or value in the algorithm. This is something I struggle with immensely, right? Because, I mean, there's a number of things that I do. Because, like, I cover a lot of stuff, right? And part of that does have to do with, like, hey, you should probably probably make sure that you're, condensing stuff. Because I mean, we cover things all over the spectrum, right? So that definitely doesn't help, from horror content to VTuber content to, whatever. I'll sit there and I'll chat all day, right? So part of that could be streamlining that in that aspect as well. But just, sorry, I lost the point where I was going with. There was an actual relevant thing there. Right. I mean, there's videos that I'll like and I'll do, and they get it's like 800 views. And it's like, should that necessarily be a reflection on my character, or should that be a reflection on how much work I'm putting into it? That one's out for debate. I think that, yes, I should be putting effort into videos. I should be pausing videos. I think there's definitely a point where you over add, right? Like you over pause, and you generally want to add things that are either on topic and or, valuable in terms of insight, right? But it's an interesting balancing act. It's very much like writing a paper or having a conversation with somebody.
You see where I'm going with this? Let's Plays, along with daily vlogs, became the new kings of the platform, leading to gamers we've mentioned like PewDiePie growing at much faster rates and launching the careers of some other now well-known faces who only started recently.
Who's that handsome guy up in the corner? It's me!
Hey everybody, Dan here from the Diamond Minecart, and today I'm starting a brand new adventure.
Hello, all you beautiful people out there.
Plus, this content was relatively easy and cheap to produce.
Right.
Obviously,
The overhead's not there, at all.
had to be entertaining, and that's not always an easy feat, but back then, there was very little editing involved. Mics and webcams weren't that expensive, and games weren't $80 yet. Oh, if only you knew the horrors that awaited Mark. I'm sure one of your indie horror reactions would have fit perfectly with the recent Nintendo Directs. But you don't have to look like Mark over here, afraid of all the high prices. Instead, you can rest easy knowing you're saving money without having to lift a finger, thanks to our partner, Chime. Chime is the number one most loved banking app that millions of Americans use to spend, manage, and most importantly, save their money. I'll be honest, I've been trying to get my head around banking and saving since moving to the US. You'd think banks would be similar across the pond, but alas, that is not the case.
What was that? Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services provided by the Bank or Bank North America or Stride Bank North American members FDIC. So does FDIC insurance.
Into the US. You'd think banks would be similar across the pond, but alas, that is not the case. Fortunately, Chime has made finding ways to save money so easy, even I could understand it. Their high-yield savings account offers up to 3.5% annual percentage yield, which is 8 times higher than your national average, meaning
it depends on the restrictions, especially because some institutions have a high-yield online savings account, and that can get pretty lucrative. I've seen upwards of 3% depending on the institution. Usually there's a restriction because high-yield online savings does mean that you do have to interact with the account online. I mean, ultimately talk to your financial institution.
If you manage to save $5,000, you'd be gaining an extra $175 in 1 year instead of just 20. And
I mean, it also depends if you want to go higher investment, because you can lock it, say, in a CD potentially. Not a financial advisor, literally not giving financial advice. Go talk to your bank, credit union, financial advisor. It also depends. If the goal is to save, CDs and be a route people do. I know people love locking them in, rolling them over, especially when rates are favorable. But if you definitely want to keep your money more liquid, which this does sound like this is going to be a savings focused product, it makes it sound like you're going to have some sort of liquidity there, right? Be able to withdraw, $200 if you need it to cover insurance or something like that, which you can't necessarily do with a CD without penalty.
When you're saving up for those new headphones, that upcoming vacation, or the ever-important emergency fund, every little counts. Plus, Chime doesn't just give you a good rate, they also make it easy to save. If you set up Chime as your primary direct deposit for your paycheck, for example, you can set it to automatically put a percentage of your earnings straight into savings. Hooray! No more math every 2 weeks. Or you can take the more stealthy approach and use their roundup feature, which rounds up every purchase to the nearest dollar and puts all those extra pennies into the savings every time you spend. And to top it all off, Chime is offering you lucky theorists a bonus of up to $350 if you open a new Chime account today using the link in the description or using the QR code on screen. That's free money on top of all the money you'll be making thanks to Chime's high-yield savings account. Thanks again to Chime for sponsoring this video, but now let's go back to how this change in the algorithm helped Let's Players to grow. Thanks.
I'm going to be honest, I'm leaning on a 9, but I think it's a 10. I think the QR code kind of bringing the presentation together honestly kind of sold it for me. So I have someone's going to watch this and it's going to be the first time they've heard that I have financial experience. I worked about a year or something in finance, right? Didn't do, super a lot. Wasn't, Like, I suspect Badger was, some sort of loan officer. Not that I've ever heard anything about his experience, right? But it would make sense. Not that I was doing loans or anything, but I was able to prep, people for loans, be able to talk to them through, general ways of building credit and stuff like that. Dealing with things, oh, dude, PMI was rough to deal with. The back end of certain systems, like I had a decent amount dealing with some stuff. Is it a product for me? Not really. But that's also because I'm kind of biased because I used to work in finance specifically. I like the disclosures, especially the FDIC, right? FDIC insured is something that definitely people look at because that's kind of a big thing, being NCUA or FDIC insured. And like that's why you see the signs. I liked it though. Is it a product that sells to me? Not really. But I honestly enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I think that you have to definitely take it as like, hey, this helps you save rather than this will just generate, free passive revenue, right? Because I feel that people could mistake that, but it's very much clarified as like, the whole rounding up to the next whole dollar on a purchase, which, some institutions, the credit unions, banks already do. Personally, I turn that off. I even turn overdraft protection off because I'll pass. I'm good on that, homie. I don't know. But like, it's one of those things where it's like it outlines, hey, this is ways you could save. You still do have to be on top of your finances. You still do have to be responsible. I don't know. I liked it. I would give it a 10 on that.
The low cost of production, it meant you could very easily pump out daily, sometimes even twice daily videos. This time was also the rise of indie horror games, namely Amnesia, Slender Man, and Five Nights at Freddy's. Games that were hard to beat, had loads of replay value, and were full of jump scares, giving us some of the most entertaining reactions to watch from the comfort of our own beds.
Hi! Oh god damn it!
What happened?
Oh, it's a chick!
By 2013, PewDiePie was the most subscribed channel on the platform. By 2015, 25 of the top 100 YouTube channels were Let's Players. People even began wondering whether Let's Players could affect game sales. But while YouTube was happy to keep feeding their audiences these long, advertiser-friendly pieces of content, something was bubbling under the surface in audiences. Videos had become much more curated, more heavily edited, and Let's Players themselves had gotten so big, it felt like it was impossible to really know them anymore. It no longer felt like sitting down with your friend to watch a video. You were watching a celebrity. To be fair, the creators were feeling this too, that videos were less authentic and that they had less of a connection to the audience who got them there to begin with.
I mean, honestly, you see this in modernity as well, right? How many VTubers or creators have you seen that, they seem pretty approachable? I'm sure even me at a certain point, right? Where people feel I've become less approachable. And I kind of lament it in a certain capacity because, like, people will have certain perceptions of you and you can't really control that, right? So I've got on record, I don't think I'm necessarily a good person. I definitely have my issues. And your average person generally has been like, nah, I mean, pretty, yeah, sometimes you have some really spicy opinions, but I mean, overall, you're a pretty legit dude, right? You can't really control that. So, just that's just me at 50,000, right? Can you imagine 200,000, 500,000, a million, 4 million, right? Like it becomes the gap widens, right? The barrier widens there. And I think a lot of creators do. And so at a certain point, like it's relevant and reasonable, right? So regarding the whole Flash Gets Superbam Inc. thing, I made sure to send business email as well as the copyright claim today. And it's like, hey, just wanted clarification, is this representative of Flash Gets or not, right? So probably won't get a reply, but that's not on Flash Gets, right? It's like how prior I received a Superbam Inc. copyright claim on a Jaden Animations video. It's why there are Nuzlocke videos that she's done that are missing because Superbam Inc. files copyright claims on them and YouTube says that they are valid in terms of copyright. And it's like, so you can business email and it's like it's just... what I'm trying to say is it's not necessarily the fault of creators because they have projects to do. They have personal lives. They have that separation between their work and their personal life, right? And that's fine. It's in fact something that I'm really needing to reinforce at this point in time is the separation. But like it definitely is an inevitability as you get larger. You start to lose control of how people perceive you. People will be able to hive mind opinion at you, whether you're, Markiplier, super legit dude, or, whatever and Praise of Shadows is doing at this point, right? Public perception of him, you know, and his really bad call out video at Wendigoon, right? There's only so much you can do. And even if you say have like the biggest like turnaround ever, like you have the greatest redemption arc ever, people can still just know you as that guy that did a thing, right? It's interesting to consider because it's very much celebrity status, right? Like, I like that this is pointed out because we talked about this in the recent Wolf Glick video in regards to his update, right? And his absence from physical VGC events going forward for the time being, right? Like, we went over celebrity status and struggling with being a public figure and things kind of starting to be out of your control, which ends up kind of being its own Ouroboros and kind of eating its own tail, right? Because by people, you know, looking at you and thinking that you're unapproachable or that you are, you know, big content creator, it kind of feeds into the whole, like, people then don't want to interact because now you're big content creator, right? What's a good analogy for that? I'm trying to think. Like when people say a game is dead, but the game's not dead, but because people say the game's dead, then people leave the game and then the game dies, that kind of thing, if that makes sense. Well, and there's definitely people who, my chat on Purple app is pretty slow, right? Like, especially because I have such a wonky schedule, sometimes I go long, and this is effectively just live recordings, right? Like, the chat's pretty slow. If people get, well, I was going to say more like some MMOs rather than D2. It's one of those things where, sorry, I lost my train of thought on that. Let me get that back. Its own tail. It's one of those things where people will say that they like smaller stream chats, or people will say that they want, you know, like they want and like those smaller communities. And if it gets over a certain size, suddenly they just don't want to do it. And that's because they're looking for a more personable experience. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just their preference, right? So a lot of interesting things that feed into this, I feel.
And that desire became an opportunity for the classic Let's Play to evolve, and for a competitor to swoop in.
The funny.
Now, Twitch had been around for a bit at this point. It was founded in 2011 as Justin TV, if any of you remember that. It offered a different yet weirdly familiar kind of experience. It removed the need for things like editing and thumbnails. You could just turn on a camera, boot up a game, and play. Obviously, this was a huge cost save for creators, but it also brought back that old school feel of early YouTube. Just longer. And for audiences, they were now able to get even more time with their favorite creators, rather than just a 10 to 30 minute video a couple of times a week. Now they could sit with them for literal hours and watch them react to stuff in real time. It felt so much more authentic. And the cherry on top, there was a live chat function, rather than just commenting on a video.
Is that Vine sauce?
And the cherry on top,
Vinny, are you okay? I'm pretty sure this is Vine sauce.
there was a live chat function, rather than just commenting on a video and hoping that maybe the creator would see it and reply or respond in a video. Now you could interact with them directly. You could help them with a part of the game they were struggling with, or you could just talk to other people who like that creator. Kind of like the old school forum days, and much like the days of sitting with your friends on the couch and playing games together.
This tells me that people genuinely miss those connections, right? That connection. And we've talked about I'm not going to dive too deep into it because we've talked about it several other times in many other reactions, right? The degradation of the third place. At its core, you need a place that is neither your home nor your place of work to be able to go and relax, whether that be, I don't know, going to your local game shop to play Warhammer or Magic, or going to church, or going to, a bar, right? Like a place that you're able to kind of like organically, meet people and form those connections and stuff. And the degradation of that over the past 15, 20-ish years really has had a knock-on effect in a number of things, right? How many people do you know who all they do is they sit at home and then they end up going to sleep, and then they go to work, and then they're off work and they're already stressed about going to work tomorrow, and they go to sleep, right? Definitely not saying what I do. No, sir. I feel that has some knock-on effects here. I mean, and this tells me, especially in tandem with people getting really upset at Microsoft for reneging on split screen co-op in Halo Infinite, which they promised and then said, "Nah, we're not doing it," right? This tells me that people want those organic experiences. Like, people want to interact with each other, but there are a lot of barriers, and especially because people just anymore are so polarized just in opinion pieces, right? Like, look Legend Z to A, right? People, I guess, hate that game. And then alternatively, like, I guess there's people that love the game. I'm somewhere in the middle. Like, so far, it's about a 7 out of 10 for me. Personally, I think it's okay. It's you know, I'd rather go back and play Fire Red or something personally. Maybe even Heart Gold, Soul Silver, or Black and White, right? It's not a 10 out of 10 for me, but it's like, I think that saying game bad 0 out of 10 or game amazing 10 out of 10, I think that's the polarization, right? And people have always been polarized, right? Watching Totally Pointless TV, right? His Silent Hill 4 video, right? Where it's like, you know, the ghosts in Silent Hill 4 The Room were very divisive, right? You know, like some people hate the ghost feature. I'm somewhere in the middle like he is, right? There are parts of it I can't stand, but I also like what it does for the system. So people have always kind of been polarized. It's not necessarily a weird political thing or anything like that. Like, people have always been polarized in their opinions. But it seems that people are getting more and more polarized in their opinions, and people are becoming more and more unruly. We can see this, metrics at any cost. People on TikTok spraying produce in a grocery store with pesticides, right? Prank culture, the rise of that, right? Like, people at the end of the day just don't want people to be weird and kind of just want people to be legit. And that's becoming harder and harder to find, especially with the absence of the third place. So there's a number of things that all feed into this, and that's why I think there's certain, you know, streamers who get a lot of praise, get a lot of good metrics and stuff, because they're able to, some of them just work an audience, right? But others just, they show up and they just are, right? Vinny Vinesauce. That's why I love coming out to his streams. I haven't been out to one of his streams in a hot minute. Maybe that's going to be my cool down thing, to just do that, just sit through a Binyot stream again, right? So this tells me that there is a desire for genuine connection.
Was in 2014, Twitch introduced a new video management system that would remove your VODs after 14 days, 60 if you were a partner. So what did all those streamers do? They began uploading their VODs to YouTube, flooding the market with this new kind of Let's Play. You can see from this graph here that searches for Let's Plays begin to fall around this time, and searches for live streams begin to go up. Between 2014 and 2015, Twitch's unique viewers increased from 55 million to 100 million. And so YouTube obviously took note, releasing its own gaming live streaming platform, YouTube Gaming, in 2015. And again, this causes Let's Plays to drop down in popularity. But as you can see here in June of 2016, there is a moment that the two searches cross. Live stream overtakes Let's Plays. Why? Because this is when Twitch introduced cheering, where users could donate to creators in the form of bits. So,
and this is actually where we had, this is actually a good time to call that out, actually. We had an individual earlier on in the stream donate some bits, right? Trying to scroll up and find their name. Which Brian Porkchop, right? I have it set up so that way, hi, on stream, you resubscribe for 21 months. Thank you for resubscribing for 21 months, right? Or you'll have, oh God, I can't read the purple font. RMN Legion 123. Thanks for the bits. You definitely didn't have to. I appreciate that, right? It adds to that layer of interaction, though. Like, you can even see this in this video, right? So the reason I do a lot of this over on the Funny Purple app is because, one, I can get that audience interaction, especially when we were doing some, reactions. We're having feedback, especially if I'm not familiar with a subject, right, is going to be very relevant, right? It also allows people to kind of like have this like hangout time, right? And then thus I upload it to YouTube, for general audience to enjoy, right? And that's where most of my metrics, and stuff come from, right? It comes from YouTube, right? This is more kind of just like action economy consolidating on the Funny Purple app while streaming this to do multiple things. Like, and even between videos at this point, I'm converting because it's just cool. I get to set this and I get to upload this for a hot minute, right? And don't get me wrong, especially the old Kip Reacts videos, like Fur at Walk was an absolute menace, which was kind of very charming of the era. But I definitely took note and tried to shy away from some of those things. If you're an OG, you understand. I don't know. It adds to that interactivity. And YouTube does kind of have it. I want to know what his comparisons to YouTube are currently, because they have their different variants, right? Like their super chats and stuff.
Rather than subscribing to a streamer for $5, you could now donate a single bit worth $1. cents, making it much more affordable for younger audiences to support creators they liked. And it was a great way for a smaller creator to earn extra income alongside YouTube ad revenue that they were usually getting. Since then, live stream as a term has continued to rise, while Let's Plays have continued to go down. Interestingly enough, at the same time, searches for gameplay also went down, while reaction went up.
It's actually interesting that that takes place about 2021. That's very interesting. And that's the thing, is I feel like I'm kind of in a bubble. Absolutely. I don't know. I'm in this weird spot. I definitely don't do myself any favors by oversharing, and especially because I'm very hard on myself to a fault. And I guess we can kind of see a downward trend. I think that reactions are the next logical step in regards to people seeking that organic connection, right? Whether it's somebody who agrees with you, whether it's somebody who disagrees with you, whether you add something to a reaction that makes someone go, interesting, I've never thought about this from this perspective, though. Whether it's, hey, you're just adding, you're adding some sort of context to the video, right? Me, in his ad read, adding, some of my financial experience, talking about high yield online savings accounts and stuff like that, right? Alternatively as well, though, there is a saturation because there is a thing as lazy react content. Something that it's something that I'm hard on, but it's one of those things that reasonably I can't do anything about it according to the social contract, because that makes me the aggressor, right? I can't control what other people do. I can only control what I do, right? It definitely feels demoralizing to have a video that you react to, and it's like, yeah, I added 10 minutes to that, and it gets 2,000 views, and someone adds 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and they get 60,000, and it's like, bro. But there's not really anything you can do about that, because I'm kind of a niche within that. So I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting. It's kind of, it's definitely up, right? It's definitely up, but it makes me wonder how long we have, because these charts, right? Let's Play. These are Let's Plays and stuff, right? In what I do, right? He's talking about the low overhead. You just need a webcam. You just need, a PC, and you're good to go, right? I have, 2-3 uploads a day. At one point, I was at 4 uploads a day. I don't like doing 4 uploads a day because it burns me out super quick, right? Very much a sprint to the finish line kind of effect if I do it, rather than a marathon. But you definitely start to... But I don't know, it's interesting to look at the metrics here, as well as when it happened, especially because, the virus time, right? Unknown virus of unspecified origin era, right? Post that, going 2021-ish. So people are looking for that unique connection. And I think that becomes really dangerous, because at that point, people like me, I try to be as genuine as I can. And if I start to have issues with something, I try to speak my mind. I try to not necessarily call it out, but I try to speak up about it. But this is where you can sell someone a parasocial experience, right? This is where you could sell somebody hey, I'll be your best, best streamer, buddy, pal, right? And just be completely rude about it, right? So a number of concerns that arise there. I think it's interesting to see this in comparison to other things. And it makes me wonder if we as reaction channels are on borrowed time, right? Not for lack of trying. I have 545 videos on my gaming channel, right? On the whole Let's Play VOD channel thing, right? That is more than a lot of people actually have. I got a notification. I think I was in the top, according to YouTube, I guess I was in the top 20% of uploaders in the category, which is wild to consider. And it's it just doesn't perform. And that's fine. That's why I'm just do what I can when I can, and just backlog things to there, because I can tell you, it's trying to diversify, but trying to diversify doesn't actually work, if that makes sense, right? I'm diversifying into something that clearly is on a downward trend, right? It's cratered.
Further implying that what people were really after were creators and their reactions, like the good old days of horror Let's Plays, rather than actual gameplay. Obviously, there's a discussion we could have about correlation versus causation, but I thought it was interesting to point out. But YouTube wasn't done sabotaging their golden goose, accidentally or not. There was one more big change around the same time that would lead us to the question we're asking today. In 2015, YouTube was the top video streaming app at the time, competing with the likes of Netflix, Hulu, and ESPN. But that was just the mobile market. Where services like Netflix really shone was in TV viewership.
Well, what did I see recently? Someone would have to substantiate this. I'm calling japes and shenanigans because I can't source it. Not right now. Something about why is Halo, whatever new Halo remake or whatever, launching on the PS5, and it was something about like how Microsoft needs to compete with like TikTok and like those social media platforms, and I'm like, what are you talking about? How does the, like, I understand the logic there. I understand how that makes sense, but it's like, bro, if I'm showing up to watch Vinesauce play something like Legend of Zelda Missing Link or Tomodachi Life, I'm pretty sure I'm not the same metric that is going to go to Netflix to watch The Witcher or like Amazon to watch Rings of Power, right? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of like reaching in terms of metrics that a lot of big studios and corporations do. And I don't know. I don't know what to really make of it. Like, just hearing Halo will be coming to PlayStation 5 because we're having to compete with TikTok is like one of the weirdest alleged corporate statements I have ever heard.
High quality shows and zero ads was a huge appeal to the more traditional media audience. YouTube wanted a piece of that pie, and so since 2015, they've been trying to do just that. They launched YouTube Red, which we now know is YouTube Premium. This gave audiences an ad-free experience, plus access to exclusive, high quality television level content made by the creators you all know and love. They introduced YouTube TV in 2017, a streaming service offering cable channels. And if you've been at a VidCon at any point in the last 5 years, you'll know that YouTube has been pushing creators more and more into making content designed for TVs. Make sure your videos are in 4K. Create series. Have your videos planned months in advance, just like they do in TV land. And of
would you say that this is the Mr. Beastification of YouTube to a degree?
course, make your videos even longer. If you've been wondering why there's been a rise in crazy long video essays over the last 5 years, this is why. It's also why we saw the meteoric rise of channels like Mr. Beast, who were producing hyper-edited, high-production value videos to the point where legitimate TV studios were giving him actual TV shows, which...
So this is, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like, I know people are going to be like, oh, well, I never got good vibes from him. It's like, his content was just never for me. Before the whole dog pack situation, before his current legal situation, like, I watched like one, I don't even know if it's even up on the Kip React still. It's like, we watched like one Mr. Beast video, and I'm like, but there's no, like, it was the one I think of like his, I need to check this now. Is this still up on the channel? Like, actually though, because I'm curious. And it's just like, it just didn't do well. Yeah, no, we watched a couple of them, I think. Yeah. Like, we watched the I Built 100 Wells in Africa thing, and it's like, so I watched this, I gave it a good faith watch. And it's like, yes, there were a lot of jump cuts. It felt really disjointed to me. Like, you know how I'm speaking right now, and yes, I have my issues with my speech pattern, which I do not like my speech pattern, but there's kind of like a through line, and, you know, it kind of has this progression, and so I'll talk about, you know, like going through this video, right? We, you know, like going through the video in general, right? Like how it, you know, discusses the, you know, how Let's Plays ended up starting, Justin T. It kind of chapters those things. Kind of just feels like it just missed a lot of that. Like, to me, when I watched it, I wasn't left satisfied because it didn't seem like there was a through line, and it was a lot of like jump cuts and like focusing on things. Like, I think it was something about a bridge getting washed away or something like that. And it's like, I don't know. It just wasn't my kind of content, right? You know, it is my kind of content. Give me Totally Pointless TV. Give me his video on Silent Hill 4 The Room, where he discusses and breaks down things as they happen. The Silent Hill 4 ghosts, level structure, inner meaning behind certain things in the other world, and Walter Sullivan, right? Or if you really want to get spicy, if I can find it, never played Morrowind. I have watched this video several times over. Because it's good, and I like it. Like, I will sit down and watch something if there's a through line. And I wonder if that's a big cognitive disconnect between me and modern viewers, right? Because I don't know, like it feels like I'll watch things and I'll enjoy things that, yes, other people do, but it's one of those things where I feel that when we start getting into the Mr. Beastification of YouTube and we start getting into content like this, I feel like it just doesn't have that through line. Or maybe I'm just, maybe I'm just ye old crotchety boomer and, I don't understand these kids these days. This is entirely possible, right? I don't know, but even then, right? Like, if someone speaks too fast or they edit their speech pattern a little too fast, habitually, I've also just had problems, right? Had problems keeping up and, like, retaining the information, right? Where it kind of just feels like you're standing under a waterfall and sure, like the waterfall is like, pouring over you and you feel like you're getting hit by the water, but it's like, what do you retain? Like, let's add some leaves into the waterfall, right? Do you necessarily feel the leaves hitting you? No, you just feel the waterfall just pounding you, right? Like that's kind of the vibe I get from videos like this. It's like what of substance is there? But once again, I think that I'm also spoiled. I think that I'm also incredibly biased, right? Growing up on things like The Lord of the Rings, right? Being able to go back and watching Rankin and Bass's, I think it was their 1981 Return of the King cartoon, right? And it's like, your average person's going to have a hard time watching that, especially if they're used to the Peter Jackson trilogy. I had never seen it until literally this last year. And going through it, I'm like, I understand what they're doing here. I understand why this is written this way. I understand why this is structured this way. It's really cool that they added this, like the Watchers and Minas Morgul. Talking about Tolkien, getting off track here. I don't know. I think that there's just a big cognitive disconnect. And it makes me wonder if there's going to be a return to very well structured content, right? I think that that's a very big question that I'm asking at this point.
Basically just look like his normal videos, but bigger. This is the type of content YouTube wants. And so, just like they did back in 2012, they changed the algorithm to favor these channels, what most surveys define as YouTube's entertainment genre. But what did that mean for Let's Plays? They've also gotten longer over the years.
Actually, that would make a lot of sense now that I think about it. So, if that's the entertainment algorithm, that would hypothetically mean that, how do I show this? That's actually a really good point to make. Give me a second to pull up in a video really quick. Because this is kind of like creator backend stuff, and I don't know if this is how this works or not. We're going to use the Zesty Jesus TF2 is broken and nobody cares video for this example. Because if you go into like YouTube Studio and stuff, there's a way to set it. Maybe it's on upload. No, it can't be. There's like multiple things to set it at. There it is, right? Category. Gaming. You have categories you can set, like right here. So does that mean that that's the entertainment algorithm versus this is the auto vehicle count? I mean, obviously, I feel at an simplified, over generalized. Yeah, this would make sense. You're putting it to this algorithm. Do we need a reaction algorithm? What would reaction fall under? Is that part of my problem? That opens a very interesting question, right? And like, I'm sure that there's like, I mean, clearly he was able to get this information, right? So it's not like it's sort of like closed off information or privileged information, right? I think when we talk about how the algorithm specifically works, like the nitty gritty parts of it, I do think that that would be closed off information, right? But with what's publicly accessible, does that mean that I should be filing under a different category? That's a good question.
Record them all now in full 4K. Longer games mean more episodes of a series, and a lot of them have become hyper-edited with the rise of TikTok and Roblox. So surely this is a huge benefit to them, right? Sadly, that doesn't appear to be the case. While, yes, on a technical level, Let's Plays do tick all of those boxes, it lacks the one thing that the entertainment genre has: its appeal to mainstream audiences. Again, people like MrBeast are making shows that regular audiences want to watch.
Is it bad that I just heard critical drinkers say modern audiences in my head? Oh no.
reality shows with a YouTube twist. But even if it's in 4K and well edited, it's much harder to convince the normies to watch someone sit at their computer and scream at gameplay. Don't
Oh, 100%. Because gaming is cringe, bro. Nah, but that anime, though, what do you mean? Like, anime used to belong to us nerds and geeks. What are you talking about? No. Have you heard of this Jujutsu Kaisen thing? Go away. Like, it's so strange. Like, I feel like the war on normies is 100% a thing. And it's like, I don't know, it's so strange to look at. It's very strange, right? Like, this also makes sense for companies like Games Workshop, right? Trying to appeal to a more mass audience, right? And thus that it turns into a culture war thing, right? It's like, yeah, I mean, it's trying to convert normies, but here's the thing about normies, and Critical Drinker kind of like exemplify this in a number of videos, right? Your normies don't really care. So if you end up, say, oh, I don't know, kind of trashing your own series, i.e. Warhammer, Star Wars, etc., and you are actively hostile towards your audience, once you start losing the normies, guess what? You're kind of cooked, bro. Like, that's how that works.
get me wrong, I love Let's Plays. Besides this channel, they were some of the first ones I ever subscribed to. But it's hard to deny that Let's Plays just don't meet the threshold for what normal audiences and therefore YouTube consider to be high production value. There's not multiple cameras. There's no characters or story arcs for the people on screen. It sadly just falls into the same old trope that YouTube is just kids in their bedroom with a camera. And YouTube desperately wants to shed that stereotype. I mean, there's a reason why when PewDiePie and Markiplier were asked to make YouTube originals, they made much bigger shows rather than just big, more high quality Let's Plays. YouTube has always known that Let's Plays don't translate. And so now it's less prioritized in the algorithm.
Yeah, I can see that.
So that's the history of the Let's Play. And so it's time to answer the question that kicked all of this off. Is the Let's Play dead? Well, honestly, it depends on what you define as dead. If you're talking about Let's Plays being the juggernauts of the online industry, then it would be easy to say yes. More and more of those classic OG Let's Players have slowed down their uploads and began making new content, or movies, or apparel, or food. And the data and history show a very clear decline compared to the newer styles of content. So
I mean, this is one of those things that it's like, yeah, no, like I think that it becomes its own death spiral too, right? Because like that's the thing is, if I stopped uploading tomorrow and I just did Kids and Kip Gaming, or I don't know, maybe I made some really cursed things, like cursed cooking things, right? And made, I don't know, Kip Eats or whatever, right? You're never going to have 100% adoption rate, and it's also possible that it can fail, right? So yeah, even in doing this, even in 545 videos, right? It just doesn't perform. And that's fine. What do? Beat up your audience because they're not watching it? That's rude, and that's not how that works, right? Because people have different interests. People have different things that they're into. Yeah, no, like I get that. It leads to its own death spiral because Markiplier could want to do something else and maybe it doesn't do as well. And then you're going to have people who say, hey, I liked Markiplier for his gaming videos, and if he doesn't do his gaming videos anymore, right? I liked when some Ordinary Gamers, I liked when Mutahar used to do creepypasta content, and then it just turned into politics and Andrew Tate, and whatever he does nowadays, right? And it's like, if he wants to do something different, that is his right. He has the ability to do that. It's his channel, right? I can say, hey, yeah, I kind of miss, spooky creepypasta content. But if he doesn't want to do it anymore, you respect his decision, right? And you kind of just move on. And then you go, oh, hey, this Roanoke Gaming dude is doing, Dead Space morphology breakdowns. That's pretty cool, right? And then you find other people who also enjoy things like Dead Space, Resident Evil, right? And so that's incentive to kind of move on. But you see how that death spirals because you start losing people at that point because they aren't going to adopt to the new channel, right? it's fascinating to watch.
If you were looking to become the next biggest YouTube channel, you're unlikely to get there by being a gamer alone.
Yeah.
That's also true over on Twitch. While it's clearly a more gaming-focused platform, unlike YouTube, the people sitting at the top are finding more and more success with other styles of content like IRL streams, just chatting, or big events like the streamer games. However, that doesn't mean that Let's Plays are completely dead. There are thousands upon thousands of Let's Play channels around that are plenty successful. Heck, Proton John is still going after all these years. Obviously, success is subjective.
If Proton John is doing modern content, because I haven't watched his content, but I know he's pretty big. And it's getting like, I'm not doing awful in comparison. That puts the things into a little bit of perspective.
He's still going after all these years. Obviously, success is subjective. For some, it may be about having the most subscribers or views, and as we've talked about, that's gonna be a challenge. But for a lot of others, it may just be the ability to do YouTube full-time. We're gonna do a lot of back of the napkin math here, so bear with me. From the data that's available, what I could determine was that the current average ad revenue for a Let's Play channel is roughly $5 per 1,000 views.
Can I check this? Hold up. Hold up. I'll give you a second here. If I go into my metrics, is there anything on this page that I care about people seeing? No. Okay. Current subscribers 2463, 166 in the last 28 days. 1.7K, 345.8 hours of watch time. Estimated revenue of about $5.59. Yeah, no, that tracks. Yeah. Yeah, no, he's on the money there. At least in my experience.
Median individual salary right now in the US is around $62,000. So in order to make that much per year, you would, again, roughly need just over 1 million views a month. Now, that isn't a small amount of views, but the point is that if you're getting that amount of views per month, it doesn't put you in the top 100 channels. You'd likely be somewhere in the top 2,000 to 3,000 channels. And that doesn't include the fact that some people could survive on less. Some videos have higher revenue than others, and there's other revenue streams like brand deals, memberships, or merch, like our brand new Theoryware, which you can get at theoryverse.store, which
good stuff. Good plug.
means you may even be in the top 4,000 to 5,000 channel range. Of course, subscriber numbers don't directly translate to revenue, but it gives you a rough idea and goes to show that while being a Let's Player might not make you an overnight sensation anymore, they are definitely still around, and I would consider them successful. Success is what you make of it after all. Finding your key push. What is it that you bring to the table? And if you stay true to that, success, money, all of that will follow. If you put money in success first, you'll either burn out or people will begin to see through it and slowly fall off. The medium's not dead, it's just different now.
Yeah.
It's more like a semi-reliable office job rather than becoming a Hollywood superstar. Although that doesn't mean things have to stay that way. Just like Let's Plays have evolved from screenshots on a chat board to videos with audio to face cams to live streams, if we do want Let's Plays back on top, it's gonna take another evolution within the genre. If the industry is leaning into television quality programming with videos that appeal to mainstream audiences, then Let's Plays need to adapt to suit that.
I would argue what he's arguing is very much what Badger does, is it not? Is Badger not using his experience either playing offline or on stream and being able to break it down for your average audience and also be able to have the production quality to be able to explain things, accentuate things and jokes? Right? Would that not make a little bit of sense?
Already seeing some sense of this with videos like the Minecraft Civilization series, Let's Plays with characters, storylines, cinematic camera angles. But clearly, we need to go further. How exactly we do that, I'm not sure. But I do know that this kind of innovation can't just be all about the data. It has to be driven by the thing that made all of these channels blow up in the first place. Passion. Doing what you love. Maybe one of you watching has that drive and is able to take the things I've talked about today and apply it to your brand new Let's Play channel, evolving the genre and breaking into the mainstream market that YouTube is so desperately pushing towards. All I ask is that if you do manage to achieve that, when you're up there accepting your Emmy award, just give me a little shout out. You figured out the solution, but this is where you got the theory.
Fair and
Game
reasonable.
Theory.
Got
Thanks
him.
for watching. World premiere on Game Theory.
This may be the most important episode of Game Theory I've ever done.
Honestly, I loved it. I thought it was a great video. And even then, right, yeah, it's like, keep it up, Kismet Gaming. You're crushing it. You know, putting you in the top 20% of the YouTube Partner Program, right? And that's the thing is like, yeah, there are going to be issues with that. There are going to be issues in like, it's just, it's a lot of saturation. It's just not what the platform's geared towards. There's a number of things, right? And I think it's really interesting. I think this is an interesting video to check out, both from, you know, a reactionary standpoint, kind of justifying certain things, as well as from a gaming standpoint. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I do implore you to make your own decisions. I am so sorry that I made this over an hour. I was trying to make this 30 or 40 minutes. Hopefully you enjoyed. I sure did. I had a lot of fun with this. Hopefully you even learned something today, or even came to an understanding yourself. Thank you, Game Theory, for an amazing video. Hopefully this was transformative enough, and hopefully I added enough insight for some people. And I will see you all in the next one.